you've worked on and work on very large, intricate projects across the country and world,
Around the world,
around the
yeah.
world. Can you generalize to a layperson or a student? Here's a building project. You're a structural engineer. A third of your effort's going to be this, a quarter of your effort's going to be this, and you're going to be surprised that, you know, how would you break your mental effort for a representative project?
Much more time than you'll ever imagine is going to be spent coordinating with the other disciplines. Uh, and nobody wants to do that. The business model is we're all working in parallel because we're foolish enough to agree to these ridiculous schedules, which means you have to work in parallel. You can't work in series. So we all have to work at the same time. And then we do a coordination, and we say, oh, we've got a duct going through this beam. We've got a duct going through this plumbing line. You know, all that stuff. There's a fair amount of time with that. I still believe that probably I'd guess a good 25% of your time is spent coordinating, not doing any calculations. It's like the duct is here, the beam is here. We either move the duct or we move the beam. Figure it out, right? So there's a fair amount of time coordinating. Um, the vast majority of your time, I think, is going to be spent taking the results of your calculations and then putting it onto paper, because that's what we do, right? We generate drawings and specifications. We don't generate computer models for as a deliverable for construction.
Yep.
The owner doesn't. Some owners want to see your calculations. I think it's more of a formality. Some owners will review your calculations very, very carefully because they have the people that have the ability to do that. But generally, you're going to be spending at least half your time taking the information from your analyses, sizing footing, sizing base plates, and sizing beams, and putting that onto paper in a coherent way. You're going to be so that's at least half of your time. I think a quarter of your time is going to be coordinating with the other disciplines.
Yep.
And those are sort of vague generalities. It's going to be a fair amount of redesign.
Yeah.
Engineering, I tell my students that a lot of engineering design is repetitive analysis. Right? Sometimes you don't know how big the beam should be. So you pick a beam and you analyze it. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, try a new size. If it works and you have excess capacity, then you have to tone it down a little bit. The actual analysis time isn't all that great. And that's probably the last 25%. But taking that raw data and transferring it into something that can be used for a construction document and then read by others who have no access to the computer analysis and don't understand it anyways. Not that they're stupid, they just haven't been trained to understand it. Right? That's probably how I would break the time up.
And I and that makes sense to me. I was unprepared when I graduated for that kind of reality.
Mm-hmm.
I was first few years were just spent doing construction administration, shop drawing reviews, things like that for large projects. But then it came more toward the design side. I was not good at opening or construction documents.
Yeah.
But the expectation was to produce
Yeah.
in a supportive way. but I was floored and unprepared for it.
You've never had any access to it. Okay. You probably never saw construction documents when you were in college.
Nope.
Probably because your professors didn't have access to them themselves because they didn't prepare them.
Yep.
So yeah, I'll bring construction documents in there. Sometimes I'll have to white out the name, right, and stuff like that because of confidentiality clauses with certain clients. And but if it's available through the City of Troy Building Department, I got no problem showing it.
Sure.
And a lot of the work that I do is we have plans and specs filed with the city building department for a building permit. So I got no problem showing them that. But it's foolish to expect a graduate engineer to prepare construction documents when he's never even seen them, right? And may not even know how to read them, right?
So I don't remember if we had this on tape or some earlier discussion. We talk about a comment from a professor or a thought in academia that, oh, you'll learn that on the job. You say that's not the gig anymore. There's no time to learn.
That's not the economic model anymore.
So put those thoughts together. They'll just learn it on the job, but there's no money to learn it on the job.
Right.
Yet, as a senior engineer, half your time is devoted toward drawing preparation. A similar percentage is for a graduate engineer, perhaps. Maybe. What do you think a time breakdown is for an entry-level engineer? Is it similar?
I think an entry level year, first couple of years, we try to get them to produce drawings right away.
Yep.
Right. That's the medium of exchange in our business is drawings. So we try to get them to generate the drawings quickly, right away after starting on board. It'll be a very iterative process. Like, you can't do this. Oh, by the way, we have a standard detail for that. This is what we did on the last job, so try and copy that. So we try and acclimate them to producing drawings right away. And that the longer you're in the business, the less time you spend producing drawings, the more time you spend reviewing drawings. When you're right in the early stages, you're doing all the analysis stuff. It's a lot of, because that's what you're used to doing while you're in college, is computer stuff. And then, as you get older and older, you do less and less of the computer stuff, and unless that's your real passion. The company I work for, we do try and allow people to have a say in their path of professional development. We've got some people that are just phenomenal with the computers, can take a 20,000 page output from a computer model and simplify it into a spreadsheet to the point where it's like, okay, there's a red cell here. That means it's overstressed. And like, go from 20,000, and I'm not exaggerating because it was over 19,000 pages was the initial output, to come down to say, okay, we've got one spreadsheet. We can take that information from the computer analysis, dump it into a spreadsheet, set the spreadsheet up to do some design, sizing rebar, whatever. And there's been a couple of people that's clearly what they like to do. And if you're in a bigger firm and that's clearly what you like to do, then you're given that opportunity to do that. But I think most people, as they get older, enjoy that less and enjoy the drawings, because when you're producing drawings, that means you're coordinating with other disciplines. right? That means you're going to meetings with clients, you're talking with contractors. And that's ultimately the goal, is to be able to lead the project